He was one of America's comic geniuses, but what was it like to live with the great Tim Conway? I talked with radio and podcasting star Tim Conway Jr. about fatherhood, comedy, and growing up with a legend, all on this edition of the Arroyo Grande podcast. Come on. I'm Raymond Arroyo. Welcome to Arroyo Grande. Go subscribe to the show now. Turn the notifications on. Turn them on so you know what's coming. I don't want you to miss this content. We're creating great stuff here. And things that I think are really important, not only now, but into the future for you and those around you. Now, to our deep dive. I loved and interviewed the comic genius Tim Conway several times. And I thought with Father's Day coming, it would be fun to talk with his son, Tim Conway Jr., who hosts his own drive time radio show in Los Angeles and his own podcast. Tim is the spirit of his dad, and we talked about carrying the family legacy, fatherhood, and so much more. Tim, I've wanted to interview you for so long.
Oh, please.
No. I love your work. I've listened every time I'm out here in traffic. I have howled in traffic jams during rush hour because you can't go anywhere. So all you can do is listen to Tim Conway Jr. I do.
Very nice of you to say.
I want to go back
because of lack of other stations.
Well, no. That I don't. My Spanish isn't so good. So you're the only thing available. Okay. And by the way, and we're going to talk about him.
Sure.
I loved your father.
Oh, that's great.
I mean,
I never met him.
Love him. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, I'll send you my notes on him, let you know what happened. Well, okay. Like most kids of hardworking dads. But
wait, real quick. Did you interview him up on Beverly Glen?
Yes.
There was a big house
in that house.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I was with him that day. On that thing. Yeah.
You're kidding me.
Yeah. I drove him there.
Oh my!
As a matter of fact, he picked me up, and I had, and he said, "Is that a new sweater?" I said, because he told me to wear a sweater.
Yeah.
I said, "Wear a sweater of these things." I said, "How'd you know it's new?" He said it had the cellophane on it. Large.
He was quick, hilarious.
He was great.
Loving. His comedy was so loving. Growing up in Encino, tell me what it was like growing up as one of six siblings.
Six kids. Yeah. 6 kids in the valley.
In the Conway household.
So my dad had to, he had to perform at the very beginning of moving from Tarzana to Encino. I knew that my dad had 6 breakfasts, 6 lunches, 6 dinners, plus my mom, plus our housekeeper, 24 meals just every day, just to supply 24 meals. So he worked a lot.
Yeah.
He worked a lot. And I remember pitching a perfect game at West Valley Little League. And I was probably about 10 or 11 years old. 6 innings, no runs, no hits, no errors. And I just mowed them all down. Went home. I'm still in my Red Sox uniform. My dad comes home from the Carol Burnett Show, a couple hours later. And I said to him, Dad, I pitched a perfect game today. He goes, oh, that's great. Oh, T, he used to call me T. Yeah. T, that's great. Oh, it's unbelievable. I wish I was there. I can't wait to see pictures. Maybe there's video of it, whatever. And I said, I think I've got something here. And he sits me down and he goes, you're not that good. How great is that?
He was hilarious. Now, your sister Kelly, though, tells a story of you all growing up. I interviewed Kelly.
Oh, good. Yeah, okay. All right, good.
And she talked about the household and that it was the funniest house in America.
It was great. It was great. Because my dad never yelled. And I never heard him swear.
Really?
Never yelled at anybody, ever.
Wow. With 6 kids? That's
6 kids. And 5 boys. One, an older sister, then 5 boys. And all of us, ADD, ADHD, ODD, all, a lot of letters flying around the house. But he never yelled. I remember one day, my curfew in high school was midnight, right? I had to be home at midnight, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Back then in the 70s, it was
a lot of room.
So I get home at about 6:30 in the morning, drinking all night, smoking cigarettes. You know how 16-year-olds do it.
Regular 16-year-olds.
That's right. And my dad comes in, knocks on the door around 9 o'clock, and he said, what time did you get home last night? I said, around 11:58-ish, right around in there. And he says, that's funny. He says, and he's walking out, and he says, the LA Times gets delivered at 5:30 in the morning. And I said, and then he starts walking away. I said, what does that have to do with me? He said, well, your car's parked on it.
Eagle.
Now that's the way of him saying, don't do that again.
Right.
You know?
This is why he did the private eyes.
That's
He was
right.
a private eye.
That's
I
right.
love that. Your
Right.
sister tells a story of you all on Easter Sunday.
She lies.
And yeah, but this is the thing about the carrot, somebody popping somebody in the eye with a carrot.
Oh, okay.
What was that about?
What happened was my dad had, there was an Easter basket that we all wanted to take a picture of, and there was going to be a big, a huge picture for next Easter to send out a family picture of everybody. And so we had the big Easter basket, we had all the kids, and my dad brought out the carrots, and they were all limp, because they were sitting under the lights for 3 hours. So he put them in the freezer. We all get back together, and my brother takes one, bang, right in my other brother's eye.
Oh,
and to go to the emergency room and go, hey, my one brother stabbed my other brother in the eye with a frozen carrot. My dad's like, oh, this guy. 5 boys.
This is a terrible line opener, on Easter Sunday, no doubt.
Right,
no less.
But we used to have a house account at the emergency room. When you have 5 boys, you're going to be going there a lot.
He would take you all to the horse races?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about that.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Where did this come from?
Well, I was doing well in math as a 3rd grader, right? So he said, I'm going to take you to the track. I'm going to take you out of school one day, take you to the track. That's where you're going to learn math.
Yeah.
So I go to the track, and everything is math. Furlongs, the weight of the jockey, trifecta, superfecta, exacta, how much the jockey weighs, the furlongs, how much the win, play, show. Everything is math. Everything at the track is based on math. So after a day, I sort of picked it up and I got into it, and I became a little better at math. So next day, Mrs. Bernstein's class, 3rd grade, Matt, Billy, and Tim, your speeches today. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know. And she said, well, you have 3 months to prepare it. So I look at my backpack, and I have a racing program. So I pull the racing program out, and I said, go to the chalkboard, and I teach the 3rd grade how to box an exacta. If you like it 5-3, go 3-5, 5-3. In case it comes in 3-5, you have it both ways. Principal's office calls my dad and said, hey, that's borderline child abuse to teach your 3rd grader how to box an exacta. Right, how to gamble. And his response was, let me tell you what child abuse is. He has it 3-5, it comes in 5-3, and he doesn't have it boxed. That's child abuse. That's a true story.
Oh, that is hilarious. But you still like the horses.
I still go, as my dad used to say, only when they run.
Only when they run.
I go
Nice.
almost every Saturday and Sunday. And it's a dying sport. I understand that. People have moved on, but I haven't. I go all the time.
It is a fun sport.
It's great.
It really is.
Louisiana Downs. I mean, you must have gone as a kid.
Yeah. New Orleans. Yeah, we go to the New Orleans Downs all the time. My grandfather used to go, and all his friends were there. So we still, when the season opens, we go. It's fun.
It's an uncle, a grandfather, or a father that introduces you to the track.
That is
And
true.
if you have a relationship with any 3 of those, you've found your way to the track.
And you keep going. It's like going to temple.
That's right.
You keep going just to keep their memory alive.
We used to go on Thanksgiving. My dad and I would go to on Thanksgiving. They ran an early card at Hollywood Park, and we'd have a turkey dinner. The best turkey dinner was at Hollywood Park. So it'd be me and my dad and 800 homeless guys, all eating turkey dinner together. It was great.
I love it. Well, my producer, Chris, has such a fond memory. I interviewed your dad several times at the house.
Right.
And as we were setting up, it's a knock at the door. There's Mannix.
Mike Connors, right?
Mike Connors, the actor Mike Connors. And my producer was just like, oh my God, you're Mannix. And he's like, yeah, Mike Connors, my normal name. Can I come in? It was your dad's birthday.
Oh, that's great.
So he comes in, he gives your dad a little card, and they talk for a minute. He leaves. Steve and Edie bringing a sweater to your dad. It's like, what is it? This was like the Dean Martin show.
Oh,
the knock at the door and a guest star came in. But it was there was a sense of community. Tell me about that, growing up in that environment.
My dad never really hung out with a lot of celebrities as much. He did later on in life, but he came from Cleveland. So he related more to the guys doing the lights or the electrician or the guy doing, lifting the cameras or whatever. He had more in common with the guys behind the scenes because that's what he did, in Cleveland. And those were racetrack guys. Those are guys, that know how to get a drink where if you need one. Those are the guys that move money around and
they get things done.
That's exactly right. Yeah. They work with their hands, not with their heads. Mm-hmm. Actors and actresses work with their heads. dads, and my dad was always uncomfortable around people like that. You know, he'd rather be around guys working with their hands.
Yeah.
And he always, and you know, because he worked with his hands. He was a finished carpenter. I mean, he literally built out the entire interior of his house in Encino. You know,
Really?
he built the bar, the shelves, everything.
And he really raised you all in Encino, so you weren't in the middle of the Hollywood glitterati.
Right. Like for instance, he was a big Rams fan. They were originally in Cleveland.
Right.
And when they moved to L.A., I became a Rams fan as well. And we used to go to Sunday games. And then he had 6 kids, so he couldn't go spend every Sunday with me for 4 hours and then spend, you know, another Sunday with Pat. He just didn't have enough time. So one of his friends, McLean Stevenson from MASH,
Of course.
was also a Rams fan. And I said, Dad, look, I know you can't go every week, but McLean goes. Can I go with him? So I go with McLean Stevenson down to the Coliseum to these games. McLean Steven has like 19 beers during this game.
Oh my God.
So we get back in the car. He gets pulled over. He gets a DUI. Back in the early 70s, it was a ticket. And they said, hey, be careful. And you move on. You kept going. We get back to the Valley. He gets another one. Right? Gets pulled over again. But he's McLean Stevens, so they don't give him a ticket, right? And I never told my dad that story until I was 45 years old. Because if I told my dad that story, it would hurt his relationship with McLean, and I wouldn't be going to Rams games. I'm out.
What I love about this, and the first time I heard you on the radio, I thought, this makes perfect sense. Your dad started in the radio.
That's right, yeah.
That's what he did. And not only was he working the show, he was the guest. He would do rotating voices and, hello, I'm here to do all the characters we later knew him for. He kind of coined them when he was in radio.
Yeah, he loved radio. You know, he got most excited in his life for doing radio. When he got a call from Larry King or Michael Jackson, who used to be the morning guy at KBC, he was very excited. He would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go do radio. You know, to go local radio. He loved the immediacy of it. He loved the fact that there's, you know, like you, there's one person who's telling you what you should do in this room. When you go to Fox News, there's 800 people.
That's true. And they're all in your ear.
Yeah, exactly
like
right.
your mad head.
But that's why this is so great. You can do whatever you want. You have the freedom to do whatever you want, and nobody's telling you what to do or, you know, what to wear or anything. Look at this.
And it's in the moment. Yeah, I didn't get the relaxed memo. Thanks. No casual Friday here.
Right.
Do you feel you're carrying his torch a little bit? And carrying on the family tradition?
I hope not. I hope not.
Come on.
I don't think. I think there is a little bit of pressure there, but he never put any pressure on for me to do that. Not at all.
I know, but that's not my question. My question is,
maybe I didn't understand it. Maybe that's the tradition of my family. I don't understand.
You don't understand. Let me clarify.
Okay.
You have you're very quick. You're funny. It's not filthy or dirty humor. I hate low humor. I hate low humor.
I'm with you. I'm a Brian Regan fan. Maniscalco.
Right. Great real comedians.
That's right.
And you can suggest things without getting explicit. The 4-letter words are the cheapest joke, and they're the easiest joke.
That's
but
right.
It's becoming the norm. Your dad was the opposite.
Yeah, never swore.
Never swore. Was clean, funny. It had a little edge occasionally.
Right.
But never a curse word, never filth. He never went to the gutter.
I've always been wanted to be kind and gentle to people, and I think it's paid off. I wasn't looking for monetary reasons, but I mean, for an audience to enjoy what we do without the fear of nudity or language or anything like that. Of course, around my house there is, but certainly not on the air. And violence, a lot of violence.
A lot of violence. Okay, we won't get into that.
No,
please.
You know, he used to travel around the Midwest doing the circuit, the Broadway, off-Broadway circuit. And he'd go to Akron, Bowling Green, Columbus, Louisville, Detroit, and he'd go around the Midwest because, they would sell out 4,000 or 5,000 seat arenas. Tim Conway's coming to town.
Yeah.
And he was in a play called Wally's Cafe. And the circuit was you'd go from one theater to another, and then a different play would follow you.
Yeah.
Right, and you would always announce at the end of the play, "Thank you for coming. Next week's show..."
Rosemary.
Right, yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
But the next week's show was going to be the best little whorehouse in Texas. And he wouldn't say that on stage. He would say, "Next week, come back, you're going to see the best little blank house in Texas." He wouldn't even say that word.
Wow.
In the title of the play, wouldn't say it.
Do you feel you're carrying any of that legacy? I don't mean to burden you, but look, what you do on radio, what you do on podcasts, it's clean,
right.
It's fun, it's engaging, and everybody can listen to it. You can listen to it on the way home with your kids.
Okay, I understand that. you had your great relations to still do with your dad.
Yes, I do.
So when you were growing up, you didn't want to get a DUI because you didn't want to embarrass your dad.
Yeah.
My dad told me this at a very young age when I got my license. He said, if you get in an accident, call me. If you get in any kind of trouble, call me. Call me on anything. Anytime you're in jail, because you're going to be in jail, call me. He said, except if you get a DUI, don't call me. Wow. That's all he had to say. And I knew what that meant. Don't drink and drive. Don't embarrass me. Yeah. I was in the National Enquirer when he was in the Carol Burnett Show. And it said Tim Conway's oldest son is a gay drug addict. And my dad comes in to my bedroom with that article and he gives it to me. He goes, I didn't know you're doing drugs. How great is that?
Tell me about, he was hilarious. He was the king of the understatement the slow pitch, and then he just wait.
That's right.
That takes real confidence.
That's right.
Real talent can wait that long.
But I didn't want to embarrass him as a kid, and now that I have my own daughter, I don't want to embarrass her. And she came along right as he started, his decline, and I never got a break. Raymond, I never got a couple of years where I could stretch out and get in trouble with the law and move around a little.
Wow. Tell me about those Carol Burnett years. Obviously, he was a star long before that. I mean, McHale's Navy, and he had done a string of television. He was all over television. But the Carol Burnett Show, which he was a guest star, never a regular player.
He wasn't regular until later on, the last 3 years.
But he was practically the star of the show.
Right,
with Carol.
He was a guest almost every week.
Why did that work? I know you knew her too. She would come in and out of the house.
I think it worked because they all had the same sense of humor. Harvey, Carol, Lyle, Vicky, and my dad. Where they all worked clean, and they all just, it was one big family. And he used to just love breaking Harvey Korman up. I remember going to the Carol Burnett Show when this girl had broken up with me, and I was depressed out of my mind. The first time a girl says, "You're out." And I'm talking to my dad, and he's saying to me, he goes, never pursue anybody that doesn't want to hang out with you. And he's actually putting on pantyhose because he's dressing up as a woman for a sketch. So he's putting on makeup and telling me, about how
Don't pursue a woman. Don't do that.
How to keep a relationship while he's doing his hair and his eyelashes.
He was such a character.
It was great.
Incredible.
The Carol Burnett Show, still to this day. Here's a quick story.
Yeah.
There's a sister station in Los Angeles called KLAC, and they do a benefit every year for Paralyzed Veterans of America. Great charity. So James Worthy, one of the stars of the Lakers, comes in, and I'm never starstruck with anybody. So I go to James Worthy, I say, hey, I just want to meet you. And he says, what's your name? I told him, he said, are you any relation to Tim Conway? I said, yeah. And he stops, and he says, I've won championships in high school. I won championships in college. I won championships in the pros. I made more money than I could ever spend. And I would give all of it away. I get goosebumps, I'd tell the story.
Gosh.
I give all of it away for 10 more minutes in North Carolina with my grandmother watching the Carol Burnett Show.
Oh, my God.
How great is that?
Oh, my God.
They never met. And he has that kind of attachment
you feel so
to my dad.
Everyone felt that.
We were the New York Yankees of comedy at the time because everybody was so in tune with the other person. Nobody disliked somebody. We all loved each other. We couldn't wait to get there on Monday. When you came in, you knew the script right away. You couldn't wait to get to the wardrobe and the makeup and everything. It was a wonderful one. And it's all attributed to Carol because if you're the head man or the head woman, that's where it begins. And if you're annoying, that show is going to be annoying.
First time I met him, I thought, in fact, I remember he opened the door and I just stood there for a second because you knew him from the time you were a child.
Right.
And the joy is such a rare thing, Tim, when people bring you joy.
I think you're right. Yeah. I think
That's
you're right.
what, and when I asked him what was the secret to the Carol Burnett Show, he said, love. We loved each other.
Yeah. You know what brings me joy?
Yeah.
Fox News brings me joy.
Boy,
how about that?
Boy, you have a real low tolerance for joy. Real low tolerance for joy, but thank goodness.
I watch that Seen and Unseen all the time.
Oh, well.
It's one of my favorite things on Fox.
Oh, you're very kind.
I know you don't like hearing that. You're like me. You don't like compliments.
Yeah,
it's great.
Very nice.
It's great. It's always very tight, well prepared, great video, great comments, and always original material.
Only a pro would know that.
Yes,
Everybody else thinks it's improvising. Shh, don't tell anybody.
Yeah,
Leave
it
it
is
there.
it is
Thank
to
you.
the exact second.
Thank
it is,
you.
and every beat's
You're very
beautiful.
kind. Well, Laura knows how to move with me, and that's finding a good partner is the hard part.
That's right.
And you
That's
either
right.
have it or you don't. We were talking about this content that drew generations together, and your dad throughout his career, whether he was on SpongeBob or the Carol Burnett Show or McHale's Navy,
Right.
the whole family could congregate, or his own show. He had
Right.
his own show, the Tim Conway Show for a
Sure.
time.
Yeah.
Everybody could congregate around that material and those shows. Why have we lost that today?
Well, I think where we lost a lot of it is streaming. You know, I mean, when we were kids, I'm a little older than you are, but when we were kids, you had on the Tuesday, 2 weeks before Christmas, you had to be home. Rudolph was going to be on,
Frosty.
and Frosty, and you had to be home to see that. If you weren't home to see it, you're
missing it. That's it.
And you didn't see it until next year.
Right.
Now everything is immediately available.
At all times.
Yeah, at all times. So you never have to sit with your family to watch anything. You don't have. There's no appointment watching of TV unless it's a sporting event we have to watch live or a high-speed chase in Los Angeles.
And which you know well.
Those are the two things you got to watch live.
Yeah, you need to see them live.
That's right.
But how do we get that back?
I don't know if
there
it's
a
coming
way?
back. I don't know. With all these phones,
Well, it's individual watching, as you said.
Yeah.
Everybody's watching individually. You don't have the communal experience
That's right.
anymore, which is a heartbreaker.
you know, you're familiar with casting offices, how they work. Everyone gets together. A friend of mine's a casting agent.
Where is this going?
And I go to visit him the other day. He's got a room full of 25 women who are in their 30s. They're going to be a young mom on some soap opera and everything. And in the old days, and you know this because you're a little younger than I am. In the old days, you would go to a casting meeting to communicate with the other actors. Hey, who's going where? Who are they looking for? And you network. Now I went to visit my buddy. Yeah. Every person was looking at their phone.
No contact with
Nothing.
each other. Silence.
But before phones, it'd be like, oh, I saw you in this. Hey, is this guy looking for somebody? I'm not good for this, but you could be good for this. Wow. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. That's over.
You see, I would argue that camaraderie that your father had with that huge group of talented people, Bob Newhart and Rickles and Carol Burnett, that Stephen Eady. Your dad didn't sing, but they were close. They were in the same circle, and they communicated with each other, and they loved each other.
That's right.
They'd fill in for each other when one got sick on the road or they're in Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
Tim would fly in and fill in for them. That world is gone.
I think you're right.
We suffer because of it.
Yeah, I think you're right. And there have been shows where that kind of camaraderie has existed. Everyone loves Raymond. Seinfeld, Friends. Yeah. But I don't know where that is today. I don't know. The Office is another perfect example where it seemed like a family.
Yeah.
It seemed like everybody was at each other's throat on
television.
Air, but they were all very close.
Yeah,
it was great.
Tell me about Licorice Pizza, which you appeared in.
Thank you very much.
The Paul Thomas Anderson.
That's
movie.
right.
Now wait a minute. Was he a neighbor of yours?
No, he wasn't a neighbor, but my dad, when he was growing up in Cleveland, his first job at Channel 5 was with Ernie Anderson. Yeah. The voice of the Love Boat.
Right.
That deep voice. Ernie Anderson was my dad's best friend.
Right.
And they came out from Cleveland together to make it in Hollywood.
Right.
Well, Ernie Anderson's son is Paul Thomas Anderson.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Is it true he's named after?
What is that?
Is it true he's named after your dad? The middle name, the Thomas, is...
It might be. I'd have to look that up.
Yeah, because your dad's real name is Thomas.
That's right. Yeah, the real name is Thomas.
Yeah.
But I was at Ernie Anderson's house when Paul Thomas Anderson came home from the hospital when he was born. So I've known the guy since he was 2 days old. And it's his first movie he's put me in. How about that? I've known the guy for 48 years.
Vic, the director.
No, you know what he did? He did a movie called Cigarettes and Coffee very early on about Las Vegas. And he asked me to be in that movie. And I said, Paul, I'm not an actor. You need actors. You got to get really good actors to be in your stuff because you're going to get 1 or 2 shots here in Hollywood, and that's it. Don't put your friends in it. Go out and get great actors. And I think I made his career for that. So.
You did. Tell me about audio content. This is your world. Tell me about the power of the audio format and how it's exploded in podcasting. It's different.
Yeah, it really has, huh?
It's a different animal.
It really is great. The guys that I grew up listening to were Bob Miller of the Kings, Chick Hearn of the Lakers, obviously Vince Scully of the Dodgers, and I'd listen to those guys paint a picture of where I was at. I was punished a lot as a kid, Raymond. I don't know if you know that.
I'm getting that vibe here,
And
too.
I used to have a green bedspread, and I would put masking tape as the foul lines, and then three bases and home plate. And I was also a baseball card collector. So I'd listen on my Emerson headphones to Vince Scully, and I'd take the Reds, play the Dodgers, and I'd move the cards around the field, and I could see the game while listening to Vince Scully.
All in your head.
And I was at the game.
Wow. To what do you attribute this? People say, look, our attention spans are shorter. News is getting tighter.
Sure.
Our segments are 3 minutes in length. Yet, what you do is hours. These podcasts go on for, I don't have the time to listen to all these
I'm
podcasts.
with you. I love the podcast, but when I turn one on, it's 3 hours. I'm like, who has that time?
Yeah, you got a beard by the time it's over.
But I bet you do this, and I do this, and most people I think do. I listen to every podcast in double time.
I do triple speed.
Okay.
I can. It's Munchkin land at my house.
Right, but you can pick it up.
I can pick it up. I can get enough. Tell me about the power of humor. You use it every day. And why do you think people are so they're attuned to it?
Yeah, I don't know where humor comes from. Because like diabetes, it skips a generation. So I'm screwed when it comes to that.
Not in your case.
I don't know. I think it comes from when you're a kid and you're in trouble, you got to try to get out of trouble. You got to think quickly. I was referred to my mom my dad used to refer to me as the artful dodger. The guy that could get out of anything. And you do that through humor. Make people laugh. They want to hang and
You're moving.
You're right.
But you've built a community though in your show. You've built a community. I mean, Jay Leno called into your show one day.
Yeah, he comes in all the time.
Yeah, I mean, we
have Adam Carolla on and Brian Regan.
But it's a community that reaches people, of course, we know, but then the wider community here. That has to be a good feeling.
It's a lot of fun. We get a lot of people in the news business who listen because they're in the blue trucks, out covering stuff. And they want to hear what's going on.
Tim, it's show prep.
That's right.
It is show prep.
You're right. You're right. It's show prep. And then so they listen to us. They're like, hey, there's a fire in Hollywood, and they are all moving in on the fire. So you're right. It is show prep. But they help us out as well. Because the news business, I think news brings the community together. Because whether you're Republican or Democrat, if there's a fire in Hollywood, it's affecting everybody in that area.
Okay.
And I love it.
You've got a show to do, so I got to make this fast.
Okay.
Very quickly, some Arroyo Grande questions I ask.
Oh, good. Okay.
You ready?
Right.
Who's the person you most admire?
Probably my daughter.
Why?
Because she's the most perfect person, and I don't know how that happened. Because her mom spent a lot of time with her. I spent a lot of time with her, and she surprises us all the time. And I would say that it would be my daughter. She is the most beautiful person inside and out. She treats people properly. She's nice to her friends. And the greatest thing in the world, I was never going to have kids. Then we had a daughter in 2005. And by a billion light years, I get goosebumps talking about it. It's the greatest thing I ever did in my life.
Yeah. Oh, no. It makes you a man.
Yeah. And real quickly, she works at a school, and some kid was talking poorly about their mom, and she said, hey, that's not, you should never do that in life. I don't know where she got that from. Not from me, not from her mom. She created that.
Wow.
But I'd say my daughter.
Well, she got it from the love of her parents.
Maybe.
What is the thing that Tim Conway Jr. knows that no one else knows?
Oh, that's great. That I never win at the racetrack.
After all those years, after all that math, crunching those darn numbers and nothing. Broke.
I am a loser at the track.
Sorry.
I lose all the time.
Okay, what's the best advice you've ever been given?
The best advice, I would say don't panic. Never panic. And I told it to my daughter. Whatever happens, never panic. It's not going to get you anywhere.
What's your favorite book and the last great book you read?
Oh man! First of all, the Racing Form is
That's wonderful. And Superman Edition 4.
Right. Somebody asked me to write a book. I go, I don't even read them. How am I going to write one? Get the hell out of here.
The old Groucho Marx line. I just finished a book. I think I'm going to read another one. It's this old. Final question: what happens when this is over?
Oh, you mean radio? or life?
I let you interpret it.
Okay. Radio, we've done everything we needed to do. I would feel if we walked away tomorrow, I'd be, totally happy with it. Because, we got to afternoon drive on the biggest station in the biggest market.
Incredible.
And we won #1 on Barrett's 2 years in a row. And that's like the Bible of talk radio. And so we've a touchdown.
You hit the top.
Right. But after life, I can't wait to run into grandparents, parents, and run. I think they're all up there.
Me too.
I do.
And I can't wait to see your dad and Harvey Korman again.
Oh, that's right.
Just to watch Harvey Korman break up and not be able to hold it together for a second.
I quite often have a dream about my dad, maybe 2 or 3 times a month, where I go to the racetrack, he's there, we spend the day at the racetrack, and I'm going back down the escalator through the clouds. He goes, "Why don't you just stay?" I said, "No, I got a daughter, I got a wife. I'll see you in a couple of years."
Oh, I love
But
that.
that's like a reoccurring dream.
Really?
Yeah. Then I can take an escalator up to the clouds, go to the racetrack with my dad, and then come back.
Then come back for a little bit.
It's weird. It's odd.
It's beautiful, actually.
But eventually, I'm going to be staying up in the clouds.
That's right. Eventually, you'll be able to stay at the track with him. That's not a bad way to go.
That's right.
Tim Conway Jr., thank you.
You
so
are the
much
best. Thank you very much. It was so cool to have me on, and I love you with Laura.
Well, I love you back. So it's a mutual. It's mutually beneficial.
Ding dong with you.
Thank you, my friend. Great to see you. Okay, here's the whole. What you do, what you show your family is conveyed to your children and their children. There was an antic sweetness to Tim Conway's comedy, and I think you see that glow in Tim Jr. I also interviewed his daughter Kelly several years ago. She has it as well. Just to give you a sense of this, Tim Conway was, I'll bet you didn't know this, a tailor. He could sew clothes and all kinds of things. And the first time I went to the house, this is what greeted me. Now, is this your normal attire when in this room?
Yes, I come down here and relax. I have a bedspread made out of this same material, so I'm comfortable wherever it's on.
My thanks to Tim Conway Jr. for reminding us that joy and humor go on. They become a legacy, and that fathers need to make both present in their families. Before we go, we have a special offer for you. I'm giving away 20 of these chosen hoodies as the 5th season arrives on Netflix. How do you get one? It's very easy. Subscribe to the Arroyo Grande podcast now. Send evidence that you're a new subscriber. A pic or a screenshot is perfect. Then send me an email at Raymond@RaymondArroyo.com. Raymond@RaymondArroyo.com, and we will pick winners at random. These hoodies, everyone I've given one to, love them. My own family, they want more. I won't give them to them because I'm giving them to you. Subscribe and you might win a free hoodie. I hope you'll come back to Arroyo Grande soon. Why live a dry, constricted life when if you fill it with good things, it can flow into a broad, thriving Arroyo Grande? I'm Raymond Arroyo. Make sure you subscribe, like this episode. Thanks for diving in, and we'll see you next time. Arroyo Grande is produced in partnership with iHeart Podcasts and is available on the iHeart Radio app or wherever you get your podcasts.